Okay, let's unpack this because, wow, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, has just plunged into U.S. politics really dramatically. And the buzz is, frankly, it's kind of off the charts. We're going to try and unravel the fascinating details behind his new America Party, and maybe even more surprisingly, his very public feud with a former political ally.
Exactly. And our mission today is really to extract the core insights from, well, a whole stack of news articles, even a YouTube transcript we looked at. We want to help you understand not just what happened, but maybe why it matters and what enormous, almost unprecedented challenges lie ahead for this whole political venture.
Right. So imagine this. It's early Sunday morning, India time. That's July 6, 2025. And boom, Elon Musk posts on X, declares the formation of the America Party.
Just like that.
Yeah. And it wasn't entirely out of the blue either. Just days before, on U.S. Independence Day, Musk ran a poll on X. He asked his followers, does the U.S. need a new political party?
And the response?
Pretty clear. Over 1.2 million responses, and it was like a 2-to-1 factor in favor.
Wow. Okay.
And here's the quote from Musk on X that really ignited this whole thing. He said, "By a factor of 2-to-1, you want a new political party and you shall have it." Quote, "When it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Today, the America Party is formed to give you back your freedom."
Okay, so one critical aspect to know here is Musk's central idea, this uniparty concept he keeps talking about. He's basically saying that, underneath all the fighting, both major parties, they fundamentally share an approach to money, to fiscal policy that leads to systemic waste and graft.
Right, failing the middle ground.
Exactly, failing to represent what he calls the 80% in the middle. And to really drive this home, he even reposted that meme, the two-headed snake.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
With the caption, "End the uniparty." Makes his point pretty visually clear, doesn't it, about this perceived lack of, real choice.
And this new party, it emerges after a pretty significant shift in Musk's own political history. I mean, he went from being a Democrat supporter to Donald Trump's biggest backer, top campaign donor in 2024.
Huge amounts of money.
Yeah, reportedly over $277 million, including a staggering $239 million via his America PK. We all saw the public appearances, right? Even that meeting with Trump in the Oval Office with his young son. And remember, Musk had even taken on that key role in Trump's administration. He was leading the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, they called it.
DOGE, right.
And I found it striking. He claimed these massive savings, like $190 billion in that position.
Yeah.
So how did this apparently close relationship just, unravel so dramatically?
Well, that's where the plot really thickens, because that powerful alliance, it completely fractured dramatically. Musk actually left his DOGE role back in May 2025.
Okay.
And the feud, it really reignited over Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Musk publicly slammed it, and that led to a really vicious public spat.
Vicious is the word. And Trump's reaction to Musk's criticism and this whole party announcement, he called Musk off the rails, said it would cause total disruption and chaos. He even threatened to deport Musk. He was born in South Africa, became a U.S. citizen in 2002, and threatened to strip federal funds from his businesses. Can you believe that?
Yeah, the directness of Trump's threats is certainly striking. He actually said without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa.
Oh.
And then, maybe trying to be, humorously menacing, he added, "We might have to put Doge on Elon." Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
Just incredible. So this piece of legislation, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, became this unexpected fault line. Can you maybe walk us through the core parts of that bill and, more importantly, why Musk found it so objectionable?
Right. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, Musk's core opposition was kind of twofold. And it reveals this fundamental clash of economic visions. First, he called the bill financially irresponsible. Why? For raising the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion.
$5 trillion.
Yeah. He argued this would just balloon the national debt from what he called an already insane $2 trillion under Biden to $2.5 trillion. He literally said it would bankrupt the country.
Okay.
He even called it a debt slavery bill, and went so far as to label it the Porky Pig Party bill with the exclamation points. And it's not just him saying it. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, estimated this bill alone would add over $3 trillion to the national debt over the next decade.
$3 trillion. Okay, so that's the financial side. What was the second point?
Well, the second point, and this is where you see Musk's own business interests directly involved, right? He specifically criticized cuts to subsidies for sectors like green energy, which obviously directly impacts Tesla, his electric car business.
Of course.
He posted, "It gives handouts to industries of the past while severely damaging industries of the future," clearly talking about EVs and clean tech. So, you see, this bill wasn't just some abstract policy disagreement for him. It became this, like, ultimate litmus test. It revealed this fundamental, maybe even irreconcilable clash between Trump's America First focus on, let's say, established sectors and Musk's vision for a tech-driven future.
Gotcha. So just to paint a clearer picture for everyone listening, Trump's bill, it aimed to double down on his signature policies. It would make most of his 2017 tax cuts permanent, cut taxes on tips and overtime, boost the child tax credit. It also planned to dramatically hike spending on border security. We're talking tens of billions for a wall, detention centers, ICE.
Right, classic Trump priorities.
Exactly. But on the other side of the coin, it brought in these deep cuts to the social safety net. Medicaid, for instance, faced work requirements for some adults. The CBO estimated millions could lose coverage from that. SNAP, the food stamp program, also saw big cuts. And crucially for Musk, it aggressively rolled back a lot of those clean energy incentives from the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. Things for EVs, clean energy efficiency, and it ended the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund entirely.
A complete reversal on that front.
Yeah. So with all that going on, Musk has laid out a pretty ambitious timeline and battle plan. He plans for the American Party to compete in the 2026 midterm elections. He's not waiting around for 2028.
That's soon for a new party.
Very soon. And he's got this strategy, which he explained on X. He said, the way we're going to crack the uniparty system is by using a variant of how Epaminondas shattered the myth of Spartan invincibility at Leuctra. Extremely concentrated force at a precise location on the battlefield.
Okay, Epaminondas. That's a deep cut, historically speaking.
It is. Can you maybe unpack that analogy for us?
Yeah, sure. So Epaminondas was this brilliant Greek general from Thebes. And at the Battle of Leuctra, he was facing a supposedly superior Spartan army. Instead of lining up traditionally, he did something quite radical. He massed his best troops, his elite sacred band, on his left flank, making it way deeper than usual, like 50 ranks deep. The idea was to just smash through the Spartan elite positioned on their right flank before the rest of the battle really got going. His weaker troops on the other side were angled back to just delay things.
So like an overloaded punch.
Exactly, an asymmetrical formation. And it worked. It shattered the Spartans and their reputation for invincibility. It was a tactical masterpiece, really.
So Musk is drawing a direct line from that military tactic to his political strategy. Concentrated force at key points. He said, one way to execute on this would be to laser focus on just 2 or 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House districts. His thinking is, given the razor-thin legislative margins, that would be enough to serve as the deciding vote on contentious laws, ensuring that they serve the true will of the people.
So, becoming the kingmaker, essentially, in a divided Congress.
That seems to be the play.
And it's important to note, while he's initially talking congressional races, he has stated that backing a candidate for president is not out of the question, though obviously he can't run himself, being born in South Africa.
Right. Well, this sounds like an incredibly steep uphill climb, doesn't it? I mean, America's political structure, it really favors the two-party system. It's just historically so difficult for newcomers to break through.
Absolutely.
We've seen other parties, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, they've tried for decades with limited success nationally. Beyond just getting on the ballot, what's the most formidable obstacle you see for this America Party?
That's a really good question because the obstacles are, they're multifaceted. It's not just one thing. First, you have the fact that political parties are creatures of the states. That means each state has totally different rules, and they're often, frankly, extraordinarily difficult legal rules just for ballot recognition.
Like what kind of rules?
Well, take California, for example. You need either 0.33% of registered voters to sign up, or you need something like 1.1 million signatures on petitions just to get on the ballot.
1.1 million signatures.
Yeah, and that's just one state. Then a new party has to register with the Federal Election Commission, the FEC, but only once it starts raising or spending money over certain limits for federal elections. Musk's party isn't registered yet, as far as we know. And you often need an FEC advisory opinion just to verify you count as a national committee so you can accept larger donations.
Okay, so layers of bureaucracy.
Layers! And you can bet this effort will almost certainly face intense pushback from both the Democrats and the Republicans. We're talking likely legal challenges over signatures in pretty much every state. That means spending huge amounts of money just on lawyers and litigation, state by state.
Lawsuits.
Exactly. And beyond that, there's the whole psychological barrier for voters, right?
Yeah.
The ingrained loyalty, the don't waste your vote mentality, plus the sheer monumental task of building grassroots infrastructure from absolutely nothing, organizing everywhere. Election lawyers basically say, even with Musk's kind of money, building an entirely new national party would likely take years and would probably not be possible by the 2026 midterm elections.
Yeah, that 2026 timeline seems optimistic, maybe. It also makes you think about the Ross Perot effect, doesn't it? You hear observers worrying Musk's party could just split the vote, maybe help the party he dislikes more, Like how Perot's independent run in '92 is often credited with helping Bill Clinton win.
That's definitely a historical parallel people bring up, the spoiler effect.
And imagine those backroom dynamics. Going from shaking hands over a massive donation to, like you said, direct threats of deportation. It really speaks volumes about the stakes involved and how much the establishment resists this kind of disruption.
It certainly does. Now, while Musk's enormous wealth, estimated over $350 billion, makes a lot seem possible, the FEC does impose contribution caps once a party gets nationally recognized. It's something like $10,000 per year to a state party committee, maybe $44,300 per year to a national committee from an individual.
So even he can't just bankroll the whole party directly.
Not the party itself beyond those limits. However, he could still use his super PAC, the America PAC, to spend unlimited sums as long as it stays legally independent of the candidates or the party itself. Campaign finance law is complicated.
Right. Never simple.
But the overall message from the legal experts, the election lawyers, it remains pretty stark. The hurdles for creating a new party and getting it on the ballot are extremely high. They say it can be done if you have endless amounts of money, but it's a multi-year project and will cost hundreds of millions of dollars. It really makes you wonder if any amount of cash can truly overcome the sheer inertia of a system this entrenched.
Multi-year, multi-$100 million maybe.
So what does this all boil down to for you listening? We essentially have the just immense ambition and, let's face it, resources of Elon Musk colliding head-on with the sort of entrenched realities and deep complexities of the U.S. two-party political system.
Yeah, it sets up quite a dynamic, doesn't it? Think about how this tension might actually play out over the next few election cycles. It might not just be about winning seats, it could be about influence, about forcing a conversation that wasn't happening before.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe. Given those razor-thin legislative margins Musk mentioned, and that very specific strategy focusing on just a handful of key seats, what real impact could this America Party actually have? Even if it never wins the presidency, even if it only wins a few congressional seats, could it fundamentally alter the direction of U.S. policy or just the ability of either major party to govern effectively? Could it be the catalyst that forces them to confront those uniparty issues he talks about?